I've become incredibly greedy. I'm really greedy now. I always say greed is not good, ambition is, but I've become greedy. But I have good greed now. And someone clarified this. I don't know if you know John Maxwell. Famous leadership trainer, right? And a wonderful guy, most ethical man. I do training for I train their company, right? And a guy named Paul Martinelli runs one of their divisions. It's just a great company, right? They're considered the #1 leadership people in the world, right? And I was at their event about a month ago. And I said to John Maxwell, we were doing an interview together. I said, John, let me ask you a question. I'm feeling really greedy right now, and I'm having a problem. I think it's kind of, really positive. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I created the system, an upgraded version of the straight line. About 6 months ago, I started promoting it. And it works so well that every day I'm getting like 50 people saying, you changed my life. I love you. And that has become the single most important thing to me is I love the feeling of helping people. I've become greedy for helping other people. Is that and he goes, that's called good greed.
Yeah.
Now, my vision now, I want to help millions, and I want to spread this ability I have to help people live better lives, make more money, live more empowered lives, not just money, it's more empowered lives by learning how to communicate more effectively. And that my vision, my mission is literally to spread that around the world as much as possible. The fact that I make money as a result of that, wonderful. But all I know is one thing, that every life I touch, they walk away saying, I would have paid him 10 times more.
This is so Tony Robbins. You're going for contribution now, which is different.
Well, and it's fulfilling, right?
Yeah, well, it's, I don't, yes, I think it's about, there's a feeling that you get when someone says, you changed my life. It's just like, it's almost, it's a high you get. And I get it I get it nonstop. And I have zero unhappy customers. Zero. Okay? That's how I create something very special because I played the long game this time. You get older and wiser, right? So that's my vision. Really, it's very simple, right? It's very clear for me right now. I have a God-given ability that I've honed to perfection over years and years and years, decades now, right? And I'm in a fortunate spot that I have, $150 million commercial in the form of a movie with the world's biggest movie star that ends with me teaching the sales system. So I got lucky. On some level, I had to pay for it, right? But I also got a responsibility. A lot of young kids look up to me, and I make sure they understand that, yes, I did some amazing things, entrepreneurship, sales, but to do it right. So it's giving this message of combining, empowerment, money-making, but with ethical persuasion and giving back. That to me is that's really simple. That's my vision. It's to do it more and more and as much as I can until the day I die.
So if you could go back and tell yourself when you have that long straight line that you're drawing, if you could tell yourself one thing and you're you right now, what would you tell yourself? At what age? When you were drawing the straight line for all your employees.
Night?
Yes.
You can't be half pregnant when it comes to ethics and integrity. See, I come from a really good family. I wasn't raised to go out into the world and commit mayhem. I never got in troubles. I was that kid that aced every single test since I was born, basically. I was my whole family's like that. Harvard University, valedictorians, they were all very scholastic, right? And I had that same ability, right? But I also had the verbal side, this God-given verbal ability, right? And everyone who knows me, everyone knows that, right? And that's a gift. Nature or God, whatever you want to say, right? Spider-Man, right? It was his uncle, not his grandfather. With great power comes great responsibility, right? I just fucked up. I had these gifts, these tremendous gifts, and then I had this moment. I stumbled upon, this is a real system I created. It's not a joke. It's a real system, all right? And I took no mind at the age of 23, it was, of how much damage a powerful weapon without ethics can do in the hand of a bunch of nincompoops that are 19 and 20 years old. I took kids, I gave them a skill set that without giving them any life struggles to build character, without giving it a moral underpinning, take that same power and combine it with ethics and integrity. You have a recipe for the life of unbelievable dreams. And I help people all the way. Nothing feels better, especially when you've made the mistakes, to come back from that. So that's, for me, my mission is clear. But also, I think, it's not just maybe there's a lot of people, whether it's in you mentioned Ed Milet or even a Tony. Okay, I mean, I think most people like that. For everyone like that, there's a lot of charlatans out there.
Sure.
Right? You know, you could say what you could Tony, you could hate him, you could love him, whatever. He's not a charlatan, the guy. He's been doing what he does for 30 freaking years, and you're not around for 30 years if you're full of shit.
Yep, it's short-lived.
It's short-lived. Yep. You don't have a system for 30. My system's now 31 years and going. It just keeps getting better and more refined through the years, right? The problem nowadays, I think, in our space, is there's so many people who are just full of shit.
Yeah, there is a lot of people that are full of shit.
And they don't, all they want to do is make, and you know, listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money. There is nothing wrong with that. It's a noble pursuit because, you know, as I always say in the movie, it was a true line. I say, you know, I've been rich, I've been poor. I choose rich every fucking time and never look back. Listen, I've been rich and I've been just so fucking happy. I've been rich and I've been really miserable. I've been poor and I've been really miserable. I have never been poor and happy. Ever. And if that, and you know what? That's me, and it's a lot of people.
You sound like my husband.
Well, I mean, listen, if you know what the other side, if you know what life can be.
Right. I like the self-awareness.
Honestly, money is a tool. Listen, okay, money's a problem to be solved. See, here's my point. I'm not saying money will buy you happiness, but a lack of money is a passport to fucking misery. It is. I've seen more marriages break up because of money, children, sickness not being taken care of. I mean, so much terrible stuff, right? And it's so easy to make money. The distinction that you point out, which is brilliant, by the way, you guys hit on it, is that, honestly, it takes time to do it right. In other words, when you cut corners, it is true. You can make money more quickly by cutting corners. But it's not sustainable for the most part. And it doesn't feel right in the end. Well, you know, when you do something right, you guys have done something right, and it must feel really great now to look back what you built because you know you built it right. I didn't have that I struggled with that in my 20s. So as long as you have a vision and you believe you're moving towards that vision, you can justify uncomfortability, lack, insecurities, because I know once I get there, I'll feel whole. The problem is that when you get there, you're still the same person when you arrive if you haven't done the work. So, you know, I think for me, I don't think you ever really fully, you know, listen, you know, they always say you're kind of baked when you get out of your adolescence, you are who you are, right? But you come to understand yourself. I understand my demons. I understand what drives them. They're still there, but they've been rationalized and talked out, whether it's through therapy and mostly through writing my first book. When I wrote my first book, it was like this. I didn't have a ghost. I wrote it myself. So I really got to dig in.
A lot of work.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. So I got to dig into my psychology and really understand myself. And also, you know, values. You know, we have values that we are essentially trying to hit on some level. And what happens is that, you know, if your values are not like under attack and like you don't change them easily. Like your values are your values. It either takes like a really like psychology intervention through therapy or a cataclysm. See, I had a cataclysm. My life was destroyed through a combination of going to jail, drugs, a destroyed marriage, losing my children. So I had no choice but to re-examine my values. If you would have asked me what my number one value was in 1997 or 96, I'd say money. Number two is power. Or maybe power was one and money was probably one and the same. Number three was family. Number four was like maybe like giving back in some way, some weird way that I If you ask me right now what my number one value is, by far, it's giving value. My number one value, what I look to hit is to give value. And from there, everything else stems. It all falls into place. When your money's your first value, it's like really destructive. It's bad.